Hello, Anne. Welcome to the Parenting Collective podcast.
Hi, Donna.
I'm so thrilled to have you joining me today, and thank you for being here to share all of your wisdom.
Thank you for the opportunity. I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah, fantastic. So I've already shared a little bit about you in the intro, but I'd love for our listeners to hear a little bit of it directly from you. So tell us, if you bumped into someone in the cafe who had never met you before, how would you describe what you do? And could you share a little bit about what lights you up and what is the heart behind the work that you do?
Yeah. Well, it's quite multifaceted, and trying to put me into one box.
I
I'm never
know,
great
not to
with
do
that.
that.
Yeah, not great at that. But ultimately, I am a coach, I am a consultant, and I am a speaker. And I work with generally female founders of small to medium businesses and also women one-to-one who are in, the workplace and who are generally overwhelmed, burnt out, stressed, or really lacking direction and not sure where they want to head to. So I support them in terms of being able to get really clear on what they're wanting in their life.
Yeah, great. And so what was your background before venturing on your own path of this? Obviously, this is your passion and purpose in life. But yeah, what was your background to get to the point of wanting to do this?
Yeah, so I had a 25-year corporate career, and I fell into my industry, which was property and commercial property at that. Back in the days, I did some work experience when I was at business college and got an opportunity, and so fell into my role as a receptionist. And so I just continued in that industry for 25 years, just
There you
about.
go. Yep.
And so have extensive experience of working, full time and in very stressful and busy roles.
Yeah.
But in all of my roles, really, from a really young age, from about the age of 21, I started managing people.
Yeah.
And the industry that I'm in was particularly women, that were in the retail space because we were managing shopping centres. And from a really young age, I was, not a great leader, not a great manager of people.
Yeah.
And so I had to learn a lot because for me back then, 25 years ago, I didn't really have any great female role models around me. So I had to go on, I guess, that self-discovery path of how is it that I want to lead myself?
Yep.
Because I'm now responsible for leading others.
Fantastic. And that's what life's about, isn't it? Searching for, searching for our best selves, I think, like our authentic best version of ourselves, and leads as we get older and you look back at your life, you think, oh, I'm so wonderful. It's so wonderful that you're here at this spot, but everything happens for a reason, isn't it? All the hard times, all the learning and trying to be the best version of yourself. So what I have seen on all your platforms is not yet that you're a mindset coach. So it's sort of that embodies all that you've just said then. The thing that that stood out to me in regards to women, because like you said, there's so many facets to this, people pleasing. Us women, we're people pleasers. Now, I like to call myself a reformed people pleaser, not quite yet there, but that struggle from a real people pleaser, because my background's a little bit yourself. Like I went to business school, I went to a receptionist, PA, all of that sort of stuff, and then a stay-at-home mum, and then started my own business. But really having support to be able to put up boundaries. Now, boundaries, we need them to be connected sometimes. Like it's not boundaries on every single person in your life. That can be a bit disastrous. But setting up boundaries and is very uncomfortable. Saying the word no, really uncomfortable. And I feel, so for me, being a former people pleaser, like I said, still quite there, but getting better.
Yes.
The no was hard. And the no was hard with friends and family. And I was sort of forced into that space because there were other things that were really traumatic at the time. But people find it really hard when you put boundaries up when you've been that people pleaser. So I'd love for you to share your view on stop trying to people please and why we do it. I'm sure you see it a lot, and it also would definitely contribute to the burnout when we're people pleasers. I'd love to, deep dive into that.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, it's so common, right? In terms of, I was at a presentation last week and I asked the room, who identifies as that people pleaser? And, 95% in that
Totally.
room did. So it's really common. But I think what it is, a lot of it, what I see, it really does stem back from our childhood, in terms of how we have been shaped and how we've molded ourselves to sort of fit in and to be seen and accepted and loved in this world.
Yep.
And so what happens is when we get into the workplace, that, we see a lot of things where we have seniority above us and we think that we can't actually speak up because we have all of this, what I see it attached to is our self-worth.
Yep.
And, and a lot of the times what comes with self-worth as well is that lack of self-trust, that we feel that we're not able to be able to speak up and say no.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time it's because we're creating stories around it. Like it creates a feeling, it creates an emotion that we have. So a lot of the times, as an example, one of my clients at the moment feels really guilty all the time if she says no, even though by saying yes to what, she doesn't want to do, it's taking up so much energy for her.
Yeah.
And
It's
so
hard.
you're
You're making it sound so simple, but it's so deep seated. It so connects with all the conscious parenting and conscious relationship spaces that I'm in, because it's not just about it's not about the kids even. It's about this awareness of why. Why do we do that? Why do we get ourselves in these situations? Because we don't want to say no.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And it is, because it really does come back down to this innate need, to be loved, and how we have been shown love
totally.
from being raised. So the ability to be able to say no isn't something that anyone can just all of a sudden do. And look, for me, that my own journey, I've, been able to say no for a very long time.
Good on you.
It still comes to elements where, when you're sort of stepping into something new that you find it a bit uncomfortable, right? But once you start to get really clear on it and you practice, because ultimately it is, you've got to practice it and see what actually comes from it. Because a lot of the times we think if we say no, what we do is make up a story in our head and say, well, this is what's going to happen. And in reality, it doesn't. But
Absolutely.
we think it's going to.
But
also, in the workplace as well, we have this fear of we are, if we do say no, we're not going to be put forward for promotions. We're not going to be seen as a team player, all those types of things. So, there's all this other story that's around it that we have to bust that myth, basically, that that's not going to be the place. That's not what's going to happen.
Change the narrative. It's very scary. And, this is not anything negative towards men, because I've got plenty of men in my life and my husband. And I would say it's the other way around. It is 95%. They can happily say no. And I even still, when he says no to things, not to me or other situations, it still makes me go, oh, you could have said it nicer, or, like it's just, I laugh all the time, again, being in relationship space, like coaching is, men are just hunter-gatherers with I'm not generalizing, I know, but a lot of men are very totally okay with themselves and totally okay and comfortable to say no. And that's lucky them is all I can say to that.
Yeah.
We're the nurturers.
Yes, we are. And because we're really emotional, right? We have these emotions, and which is what we need in life. We want that part of us to be able to connect and to, like you say, to nurture. The flip side of it is, we are in a society, we are in a framework that is not built for women to succeed. No. Okay.
It's still not. And people say it's changing, and, I talk about this quite a lot, and it's just, it's just not. It's not the same.
No. And, as women, even if we may not be aware of it consciously, we want to be able to connect into our feminine energy, but we just don't know how to when we're surrounded by that masculine energy and how, most of the framework is built on.
Totally. So, especially in corporate.
Absolutely.
And trying to, again, I became very masculine in my life in the fact that I had to be independent, from going people pleaser to independent, like I can do it. Very uncomfortable to feel safe enough to be that feminine and let them do it, especially in the corporate world. I mean, that's a long way, like in society maybe, but if in the corporate world, we're a long way away with that.
Yeah.
With women
And
feeling
then,
safe with men in that way,
yeah,
emotionally. Yeah.
emotionally, correct. And then that plays out in home life too, right? If you're really hyper independent at work, and then, you come home and you've still got all that, have to get, dinner organized, have to organize the kids. Where do we
Absolutely.
have to take the kids to, right? We are
Yeah.
constantly in that mode of, being hyper independent and organization, that it's hard to actually soften, to rest, to take time for ourselves, to sit and enjoy a cup of tea or a cup of coffee and just
Crazy.
enjoy it and be, rather than thinking of all the 5 million things we've still got to do.
Oh, my goodness. And I talk about this, I've talked about this often because I talk at this space at the age I am with the brain I have, but I was the worst at all of it. I worried about everything. I burnt myself out all the time, even being a stay-at-home mum. Like I just put so much pressure on myself and to never stop. And when life got complicated, when the kids got a bit older and I was a mess, really, wasn't using my techniques. I had a coach who literally, and wasn't a planned thing, but she was a life coach, but she was basically saying, you need to rest. Go and have a nap. I'm like, I can't. I've got so much to do. And it's crazy that I had someone for nearly a year support me on how to stop and not feel guilty about that or slow down. And I used to be sick all the time, and I mean all the time, and really quite sick. And a big chunk of that would have been stress and that I put on myself. So now I touch wood, don't get sick really often, and which is crazy to say, but I'm very good at regulating myself better. I'm not great at it all the time, but it's really important to stop. Like you said, a cup of tea, go sit out in the sun. It doesn't have to be these big going to get a massage or something like that. Like these small little grounding moments are really important.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the word self-care, right? It started to get a real bad name about it, right? But the three things that are the best way to actually show your self-care, and, because these are the top three pillars that I always work with. First is sleep.
Yes,
right? Because
totally.
that is where we do our most repair and restoration.
Yes.
The second is nutrition. Right?
Yes.
How are you fueling yourself? How are you really nurturing yourself by giving yourself the good quality food? And then the third is movement.
Yep.
Right? Just to be it, because movement can help with shifting energy, to shift, that really low energy that you may be experiencing. So a lot of the times when women come to me and they say to me, this is where I want to be, this is what I want to achieve, this is what I want to do. Sometimes the first thing, we have to do is just purely like, we need to get you sleeping.
Yeah. I don't know if you do know, but my passion around sleep started before I had children, and not knowing, undiagnosed ADD, undiagnosed anxiety, and it was all understanding coping. Yeah. And so my sleep always had to be, it was really important. And look, I definitely went through many of my younger years partying and having fun, but I would get sick. All of these things. But now understanding it, studying it, I'm always studying all the latest stuff on sleep. It is number one, healthy nutrition and movement. And people have forgotten about that. And especially when we come to our babies and our toddlers and our teens, it is something that I can help them support their children to master a skill, a human skill. But people are just getting confused and like, old kids don't need to sleep. That's quite normal for them to wake 20 times at night. Like there's so much information out there that's conflicting and confusing for everyone. But when you come back to the basics, get great sleep, what you fuel yourself with, and movement. Movement just for a walk. Like people think they have to go to the gym and do weights. If you can't do that, go for a walk.
No. And it's also understanding the season that you're in as well. Right. So the team that I manage, I had a team of 50 and 90% of them were women at all different age groups, different family dynamics. But, if I'm talking to, a mum who's just returned to the workforce after having, her first or second or third child, whatever it may be, obviously at times sleep is really going to be impacted because of having young children. So it's about understanding the season you're in. But then for me as well, it's the leader that they report into understanding their season they're in so that they can best support them. So, you know, it's about recognizing where that person is, but they have to also recognize and go, you know what? Yes, I want to keep growing my career, but I can't necessarily do it all at the moment because of the season I'm in. This season will end.
Yeah, that's the
But,
hard
you know,
one too, isn't it? This
yeah,
too shall pass, which I know people hear about it, but it truly, I never thought that. I did not think this too shall pass. I was thinking,
yeah,
let me get through this. Let me get through it. But it's like if you just mindset's different around things, you know, not trying being in the moment, surrendering to the shitty times that might be, rather than trying to fix things all the time. And some things just aren't achievable. Like you said, if you can't get great sleep, you either find someone like myself with your children,
yeah,
or
yeah,
you battle on, you know.
yeah.
But you know, yeah, there's things that we have control of, which is what we eat and movement and sleep when we can, you know.
Yes, yeah.
This sort of segues into another thing that I hear all the time about work-life balance.
Mhm.
And I have sort of come to the understanding it's very, very hard to get that balance, right? So if we, instead of thinking we want this perfect balance, it's just doing the best you can in that season. So like you said, like at the moment, I was saying to you before, I'm all on Instagram all the time. The season's working for me. And some years I'm not doing that. So, I mean, that's not a really good example, but you know, it is, the balance is like a seesaw. That's the best way that I sort of speak to parents and stuff about it. It's not going to be perfect all the time, but working towards it is a positive thing, I think.
Yeah.
What do you think
And
about the work-life balance?
yeah, I used to get asked that a lot.
Yeah.
I guess for me, I reframed it to work-life integration,
Mm.
right? Because the way that we operate now in this world, it is very much integrated.
Yeah.
So, and yes, depending on what season you're in,
Mhm.
sometimes it's going to be more work focused, other times
Yep.
it's going to be more family focused.
That's right.
But for
Exactly.
me, it's actually more than anything is getting clear about what is important to you.
Yeah.
Like where are you actually like where are you heading in life? What is it you want? And so one of the things I do with my clients is get them to really focus on that life vision piece.
Yeah.
And a lot of them that come to me have never done life visioning before. And in fairness, neither had I,
Yeah.
until a few years ago. And when I first did my life vision, it was 2 lines. It was
Oh, really?
simple, it was
Yeah.
really basic
Yeah.
because I just hadn't experienced anything like that before. Whereas now it's really detailed because
Mhm.
I can understand the power of it, right? Of really
Yep.
uh, picturing my future and how it is. And when I picture that, it's enacting now as though this
Yeah,
is
it
what my
is.
life is like.
Yep.
So when we look at, that work-life integration, yeah, we have to get clear on how much do we really want work to be able to consume our life?
Mm.
And there is no one that I know now that has a job where their in tray is empty, their emails never stop coming,
Yeah,
the phone never
totally.
stops calling, their work never stops. That never happens.
Mm.
But what I see is women saying, I have to keep doing this. And it's like,
Mm.
there has to come an end point, right?
Mm.
Because you can't just keep going at the same pace all
Yeah.
the time. It just doesn't work.
No, you can't. And look, I will not burn myself out again. I did that way too many times. And any feeling of that comes anywhere close to that, I will shut so much else down. If that means work is really busy, then social life doesn't exist for a bit, then that's it. But I know the lead up to that now. And I think the younger you are, you just don't quite know that pattern, do you? And the thing is too, though, we live in a really fast-paced, expensive world. So there are so many people that are entrepreneur, not so many people, but on Instagram going, work 10 hours a week and earn $20 million. That's lovely. That's just annoying, really, really annoying, because is it true? And you have to work really hard to get to that point anyway. So we live this fast-paced, so much information world where the balance would be, okay, if you've got a really busy life with work, you've got to try and find some time to ground. That might be a bath at night. It might be off social media. It might be going for a walk in the morning. Like they're the small things you can do because we can't not work. And well, okay, there might be some people that have that luxury, but it's a very fast-paced, full-on world. We don't get to have a break much with our brains at all anymore, and that causes burnout as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Mm.
so it is up to us to lead ourselves, right? To take radical responsibility for
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
to slow it down.
Yeah.
And,
Totally.
I think about my life,
Yeah.
pre-corporate,
Yeah.
and, I was in senior directorship roles, right? So most of it, an average day for me was 8 to 9 meetings,
Yeah.
anywhere between 100 and 150 emails. That was
Yeah.
daily, 5
Yeah.
days a week.
Your brain is
Okay.
like on fire. And that's most people, isn't it? Like,
Yes. So I was the one that had to manage my workload and manage myself to
yeah,
ensure that I could keep up with that demand,
that's right. That's
but
right.
also know when to be able to say no. So,
Yeah.
it was as simple as one of my strategies was Friday was a no meeting day,
Yeah.
unless it was absolutely critical. And I determined what that critical
Yeah.
aspect was.
That's right.
But I just said no meetings.
Good.
And the ability to, even though I was at work, was the ability to rest because I wasn't on having
Yeah.
to deal with lots of people all the time. And then
Mm-hmm.
I could get through workload in that
Yeah.
day so that by the time I walked out the door on Friday night,
Yeah.
I could sort of say, okay, I feel like I'm back in control,
Yeah.
got myself ready for the next week. So
That's
there's
right.
lots of little strategies that you can
Totally.
do always so that you can still walk away and, slow everything down for
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah. Micro strategies, aren't they? And the thing is, we're all pretty high achieving people, the women that I meet, and that's our problem. That's our fault as well. Like we don't mean to be like that, but we want to do whatever we're doing well, so it's to our own detriment. So those little things of putting in place is really important, isn't it? So if people, there's so many other things we could talk about life, but
Yeah.
if people, listeners, interested in working with you in regards to burnout mindset, stopping the people pleasing, sort of all of that sort of stuff, what do you offer? What have you got one-on-one? What does it sort of look like if people think, oh, this is quite interesting and I am feeling burnt out and I'd love to reach out to Anne? Tell me, what you provide in your one-on-ones, what people
Thanks, Donna.
expect. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's 2 ways that people work with me generally, and that's one-on-one. So I do one-to-one coaching, so that I can support women, and usually we will work together for a period of 6 months. That's
Yep.
how long it actually
Oh,
takes for that
totally. Yeah.
transformation to really happen and to dig deep and understand
Yep.
what's going on.
Yep.
So we work on coaching sessions one-to-one. It's tailored specifically to them, depending on what's coming up for them and what,
Mhm.
the transformation they are seeking or what they need help with.
Mhm.
And if they're interested, then they can either go to, I'm more active on LinkedIn, but they can go
Yep.
onto LinkedIn or Instagram, where they can book a no obligation 30-minute chat with me, and we can just sort of have a chat and see if,
Yep.
what they're needing some help with. But then the other aspect as well is I support organisations. So again,
Okay.
they can do that if they're thinking, I really would like to help our female leadership team or even our men, because I actually work with a lot of men as well,
Mhm.
because my view is that our framework will still support men to be leaders of women. And
Yeah.
so in order to affect real
Amazing.
change, we need to educate our men so
Totally.
that they can come along and really understand what's happening, for us.
Absolutely.
So again, they can reach out and we can just have a no obligation chat and we can see how we can help.
Fantastic. And so do you use all different modalities in regards to, because people, what I'm finding with everyone being so stressed in life, they just really need direction, meaning like dot points. So do you sort of, with your coaching and stuff, obviously help people not only look at life a little bit differently to try and find a bit more of balance, but obviously give them sort of options of different modalities of how to use or what to use when they're feeling stressed? Obviously, they can't have you 24 hours a day, but is that the sort of thing that you help with as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So depending on who I'm working with and what's coming up for them, I obviously deal a lot with the emotions that are coming up, and
Yeah.
we're digging into those stories and getting an understanding of where they're coming from.
Yep.
But, I don't want to basically say this because sometimes it sounds terrible, right? But ultimately, what I'm really trying to do for most of my clients is to take things off their plate rather than adding things in.
Totally.
So
That makes
I'm
sense.
not just throwing strategies at them or new tools for them to become so overwhelmed.
Yeah,
A lot
totally.
of the times, we'll come back to what was your coach that said, just getting you to rest. Sometimes
yeah.
that's just as simple
I
as
know,
we have to
totally.
try. Yeah.
This literally, she'd go and put an hoodie on because it was winter and nap. And that's the thing, isn't it? It's like having that someone give you the acknowledgement of like it's okay to do things. I mean, that's the biggest thing, isn't it? Having a coach that you trust. So
Yeah.
excellent. So I will have everything in the show notes for people to click and follow and reach out for you to you. LinkedIn being your most active. You do have Instagram and stuff like that.
I do. Yes.
But yeah, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Donna. It's been
Take
great.
care. Thank you. So if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to leave me a rating and review. I love reading all of your messages, so shoot me a DM over on Instagram. It is parentingcollective.au. I also offer a free 15-minute no obligation phone chat. If you'd like to book one, head over to my website www.parentingcollective.com.au and request one there. So try to remember to be kind to yourself and always know you're doing the best you can every day, no matter what your day is looking like. Until next time, much love.